Hey everyone, Dr. Steve here. You know it as well as I do, but most students need a B or better in A&P. But did you know that students are doing that all over the US using my Anatomy and Physiology digital suite as a low-cost alternative to expensive textbooks? Digital Suite delivers the key concepts of A&P with short, assignable tutor videos and a bulleted narrative study guide that not only explain the concepts of A&P, they show them happening. Combined with state-of-the-art dissection and physiology lab simulations and a vast question bank for quizzes, homework assignments, and exams, Digital Suite meets students where they are and gives them the tools to master the content. It's the perfect supplement to an OER textbook or just on its own. If you're an A&P instructor, contact your McGraw-Hill representative today and ask about Anatomy and Physiology Digital Suite. If you're a student, tell your instructor about it. There's a link to Digital Suite in the show notes of this episode. Get your B or better in A&P with A&P Digital Suite. Hey everyone, welcome back to my podcast, Anatomy and Physiology Bit by Bit. I'm your host, Dr. Steve Sullivan, coming to you from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where I've been teaching A&P since 2002. As many of you know, my major in college was exercise science and sports studies. Back in the early 1990s at Rutgers University, New Jersey, this major had 3 different tracks that you could take. They called them options. You could do the physical education option and become a phys ed teacher. In fact, a good friend of mine did that and has been a decorated physical education teacher in New Jersey for 30 years now. If you're listening, hi Eric. You could go into sports management and take on the business end of sports. Or you could take the physiology option and go into the science of exercise, athletic training, physical therapy, other clinical avenues, etc. That's what I did. As did another good friend of mine who went on to become an athletic trainer. If you're listening, hey Steve. Today, I believe exercise physiology has been absorbed by the biology department at Rutgers, and most of my professors are no longer there. So, as you can imagine, this is an exciting episode for me on the podcast because we are going to talk about the physiology of exercise and how our body responds to moving. And today we also have a special guest whose field is very relevant to this episode. I've yet to talk to a personal trainer, and this is the perfect episode to do it. My guest's name is April Hattori. April is a personal trainer who lives near Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. Back in 2020, during the pandemic, she started a YouTube channel called Yes2Next. That's the number 2. On that channel, she does exercise instruction with her mother, who is in her 80s. I've watched a bunch of them, and they are a lot of fun. April has amassed over 250,000 subscribers on YouTube and many more across all social media platforms. I was fortunate to get to speak with April recently so you can learn about personal training, its possibilities, and the benefits of exercise. So let's not wait any longer. Please help me welcome to the show April Hattori from Yes2Next. Okay, welcome to the show, April Hattori from Yes2Next. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Great to be here.
Well, I watched some of your YouTube videos and I really like them. I love what you're doing with exercise and fitness, especially with an older population. Actually, my last 2 episodes on the podcast that I recorded were both about aging and senescence. So really pertinent to where we are in the show. So tell me, what is Yes2Next? What does it mean? And how did you get started doing it?
Yeah. Well, yes to next means say yes to your next steps to fitness and joy. And so it all started with, I was a personal trainer in a gym here in the Las Vegas area. And that was about 2020. And then the pandemic hit. And so then I just started to create exercise videos for my clients who were mostly older adults. I was like the oldest trainer in the gym. So my specialty was working with older adults. And so I just started making YouTube videos when everything shut down. And since I live with my mom, who's now 84, I just asked her to start doing, hey, mom, you want to join in on these videos? And she thankfully said yes. I don't think she knew what she was getting into. But yeah, it just all started from there. And so here we are. We're 5 years in with, over 270 workout videos, focusing on all those things that we need to do to stay strong and independent.
So was your mom already interested in fitness, or did she just say, what else am I going to do? It's a pandemic.
My mom is not like uber superwoman exerciser. In fact, she will tell you that she's like exercise was not her priority at all. But just by being involved with the channel and being, seeing, what, our friends around the world are doing has just inspired her, to stay active and to be strong. So, she really exemplifies, that it's never too late, or you're never too old to get moving, and you don't have to be a bodybuilder to enjoy the benefits of exercise.
So, what kind of things do you do in the videos? What kind of
Mhm.
exercises are you working on?
Yeah, so I mean, they range from 5 to 60 minutes, and they cover everything that we all need to do to stay, independent, right? So everything from cardio, walking workouts, balance exercises, strength training, flexibility, stretching. We have chair yoga workouts. We have, Pilates workouts. So all those things that we need to do to not only just stay strong, but to be able to do those daily activities, right? We're not you don't have to be a bodybuilder to enjoy the benefits of exercise. It's about being able to do those daily activities with ease and confidence. So we have workouts that cover all of that.
That's great. So, do people need any kind of special equipment if they log into your videos?
No, not necessary. However, we do have workouts with resistance bands and with weights, and we always say that, what, you don't have to do that. If you're just starting out, just start where you are without any type of equipment and get the form down and add, resistance when you can. And they can come in the form of household items like water bottles or cans, things like that you can do. So you don't need to have a fancy gym, to be able to stay active and get stronger.
Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of the elder population, some of the exercises that you see them doing, especially with when they have a physical therapist or a personal trainer, are just the simple things like squats so that you can get out of a chair easily, or stairs so that you don't have to move out of your home because your bedroom's on the second floor. Things like that, like the things that will prolong our healthy lifespan rather than just prolong our lifespan, period.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about functional fitness, right? They're functional exercises. So everything that we do is all about being able to do those things that you need to do every day. So my mom always says, just, doing that sit to stand, or we call it a chair stand up, right? Getting up from the chair. She says, it's super important for me to get up off the toilet, right? Right, things like that. Or, you know, working on, using a step to just go up and down a stair to be able to strengthen those muscles you need to go, up and down the stairs, climb the stairs.
Yeah, I would think that all of that is really tied into so many other things in an elder person's life. For instance, if they're having a hard time getting up from the toilet or getting up and down from a chair, it's going to affect also their mental health and their social activities and whether or not they can go out and purchase food from the grocery store. So they might get stuck ordering takeout. So now it's going to affect their nutrition. Like so
Yeah.
many things. I've had a lot of guests on this show, and recently I had a neuro oncologist, a neuroscientist, and I had a functional medicine specialist. And one of the main things they keep saying is if I had one recommendation to give people, it's
Mhm.
move your body, it's exercise. Like exercise trickles down to everything else in our lives.
Absolutely. Movement is medicine, right? I mean, everything not only strengthens your body, but think about, what it does for your brain. It boosts mood, it helps you sleep better. All those things. Human beings were meant to move. That's how, right? So, I mean, you got to move, and we're in our society, where we work all our lives, and then it's like, oh, we retire, like, oh, this is like easy street. But you know what, you just sit back and relax. But the thing is, you got to keep moving too. I mean, that will keep your brain and your body healthy, not only make you feel good too because of the endorphins that it engenders.
Yeah, 100%. The
Mm.
stagnation is not a good recipe.
Mhm.
So, how can people find your videos?
Yes, so we're on YouTube. You can find us at Yes2Next, and we have a website, Yes2Next.com. But we have again over 250 free workout videos that people can use to stay active and get stronger. So we just started a podcast, the Fitness and Joy podcast, where we share, information and interview folks on longevity and health and fitness. And I'm really excited that we're going to be launching a new app soon that will be aimed at beginner exercisers who need just a little bit more help beyond our free videos. I love that we offer free videos to make exercise accessible, but we're going to offer an app to help folks who maybe just need a little bit more guidance. So that's coming soon.
That's great. I will tell you what, I will put a link to whatever is, I'm going to re-say that. I will put a link in the show notes to everywhere that they can find you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
You got it.
it.
So you said you're in the Las Vegas area. Are you still doing in-person personal training?
Yeah, so yeah, I started with working in a gym, but really I'm really focused on online training right now, mainly to help so many people around the world. I mean, we've got more than 540,000 subscribers at this point, and it really has become a full-time gig to be able to do all of this for just online.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
I'll bet.
yeah.
I also noticed that you have a blog called Fitness and Joy.
Mhm.
And for me, joy is the operative word here. And I know we did kind of touch on this for a second, but how important have you found in your career as a personal trainer that physical health is to mental health?
Oh, absolutely. There is a direct connection. I mean, for people, just being able to move again, as we talked about, is great for the brain. It's boosts mood, helps you sleep better. So that's just going to make you feel better. And so, we're all about being able to provide exercise routines that are fun, that don't make exercise a chore. And so hopefully, that will inspire people to stay consistent with exercise. That's kind of our goal. There's a direct connection to that.
And I used to tell people all the time when I would talk to them about exercise and fitness in my previous career, that when they would ask me, what's the best exercise I can do? My answer was always, whatever you'll actually do. That's it. Because compliance is the number one barricade to success. And if there's something that they enjoy doing that they'll do, then that's it. For me, it's tennis. I play a lot
Oh,
of tennis. I played this morning. I play probably 4 or 5 times a week. And there are people playing tennis in my group who are well into their 60s and 70s. And I mean, some of them are still playing singles tennis, my specialty. But when they keep their body moving and they keep their body active, everything else seems to fall in place better.
that is so true. And we hear from friends around the world who have gone from being sedentary to now being active every day. And there's no greater joy, than to be able to inspire people, to move every day. And so our goal is really, really just to make exercise fun. My we we don't script our workouts. I mean, I do outline it so that we know what the exercise routine is, but other than that, it's my mom and me exercising with friends, and it's very, very natural and authentic. And it's funny today because of the smart TV, people are seeing us in their living rooms, right? So we often hear that, oh, being able to share this friendship across the mile, I feel like you're here in the room with me, and that just really makes us happy to be able to give that kind of connection and friendship in addition to helping people get stronger through exercise.
So let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer, but is there anything that you started to do with the exercise video and your mom said, no, I'm not doing that?
Oh, yeah. In fact, in some of the workouts, I'm like, okay, mom, let's ramp it up. She's like, I'm just going to sit here. So she's really honest, and honestly, when we first started doing it, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's good, but like, okay, well, that's what you feel, you do it. It's good. You go, you do your
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, there'll be no ramping today.
no, she is very honest. That's in the workouts. Like, I'm gonna sit for this one. I'll try standing for this one, but this one I'm gonna sit out. So she's very, and I think that's great because I think everybody needs to do that, needs to listen to their body, do what you can. And you know what? If you need to rest in this 30-second interval, you go ahead and rest because you know what? The biggest thing is you showed up and you're here and you're doing it. And so if you do it today, maybe tomorrow you're going to do it for a little longer.
Yep. Just add another minute or two.
Yeah.
I saw one of the videos where you had a chair set up and your mom said, "No, I think I could do this one standing."
Yeah.
I saw one of those. It was really cute. So do you have like a funniest story?
Oh, yeah. Oh, many. I I think that one of the funniest one was, so we're doing our walking workout, and I just said, we're walking. I'm like, Mom, where are you walking today? She goes, I think I'm going to walk to the hot dog stand. I'm like, well, I was thinking to myself in my brain, like, wow, that flies in the face of everything that's healthy and good. But you know what? There's room for moderation in life, and this is real
100%.
life, and there's room for treats in life. And so my mom walking to the hot dog stand, and that has become kind of a thing. And we actually did a video on her actually going to the hot dog stand, walking to the hot dog stand. So that's just one example. The other one would be, we have a 20-pound cat. And
Oh,
he was actually born the same month that we started Yes2Next. And so you actually see him enter our videos from the very beginning as a kitten, and you see him grow. And so now he's this fluffy behemoth of a 20-pound cat, and he sometimes joins us. So he adds some comic relief every now and then.
that's fun. I have um I have some episodes from back in 2020
Hmm.
where I talk about my cat and because he needed his thyroid radiated. So I talk about the thyroid gland and I talk about the radiation and what the hyperthyroidism did to him. And I go over
Hmm.
all through that. And then because people start my podcast with episode one all the time because they start taking anatomy and physiology. And so they start with episode one and move on. I get emails from students that say, "How's your cat doing?" And well, he passed away a couple of years ago because that was
Oh.
almost 6 years ago that he had to have the radiation, but it did give him another 3 years.
Oh.
And we have two kids, but he was our firstborn. And so he got to 19, almost 19 with us.
Wow. That
And
is incredible.
yeah, the thyroid radiation I thought was worth it because we loved that cat and
Yeah.
we got 3 more years with him. So it was good. But we got two more now.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, 19 years is absolutely amazing. I mean, you grew up with your kids. It's incredible.
Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
we had him since he was about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, we found him. We found him on the side of the road
Oh, that's so
and just
sweet.
grabbed him and had to bottle feed him and do
Oh,
all that stuff. So yeah, so it was a lot, but
yes,
yeah,
he's your
so I'm
firstborn. I get it. I
yes,
get it. Totally get
absolutely. But it was fun to hear and it's fun to hear people still say, "Oh, I hope your cat's doing well." And I'm like, "Well, that was a long time ago." He'd be
it.
really old now.
Wow. But you know what? He's immortalized in
Oh,
your
he's
podcast.
immortalized in our house in a few
Isn't that
places too.
sweet?
Yeah. So,
So sweet.
well, this has been really fun. So what else can you tell the listeners about Yes to Next? Is there anything else that they should know? How can they
Yeah.
find you on Instagram or any other
You know,
social media?
we are all over. YouTube is our core, obviously. You know, find our feed videos. Just check them out. We got playlists and everything all on different topics. Our website, yes2next.com. We're on all the social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check out. We have really short workouts on TikTok. But Pinterest, we're on all of them. So we invite you
Okay.
to join us there.
I'll definitely link to your website and then whatever else I can fit in the show notes, I will throw in there.
I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, April, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm really kind of upset I didn't get to meet your mom, but that's okay. I think
Next time.
we shared next time. I think people got a lot out of this, and I think that people are getting a ton out of Yes to Next. I think it's awesome. I am going to call my mom today and make sure that she's watching the videos on YouTube. She's got the smart TV. I showed her how to use it. She can do the workouts right there. That way, next time we go on vacation with her, she can get around really well.
Awesome. We wish her all the best and all good health.
Well, thank you so much, April.
Thank you.
I absolutely love what April is doing at Yes2Next, and her mother is so inspiring in those exercise videos. You should definitely check out April's YouTube channel, Yes2Next. I put links in the show notes to April's website, podcast, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube channel, you name it. Check it out. Thank you again, April. That was really fun.
Big color, bigger savings. It's Sherwin-Williams' biggest super sale. Get 40% off paints and stains October 17th through the 27th with prices starting at $29.39. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Okay, let's talk about exercise physiology, the way you'll use it as a future healthcare practitioner. Clear, practical, and connected from cell to clinic. Imagine you're shadowing a patient through a single workout and then through weeks of training. We'll watch the body respond minute by minute, and we'll also see how it remodels itself between sessions. By the end, you should be able to explain not only what happens during exercise, but why specific prescriptions work, how to keep people safe, and what adaptations you can expect across different populations. Now, let me be clear right up front. I am not prescribing exercise to anyone, nor am I offering medical advice. I am just going over standard practice. Every exercise prescription should be individualized after being evaluated by a physician. Okay, now that that's out of the way, exercise is a controlled stressor. At rest, your body keeps a tight equilibrium. Temperature is steady, blood pH is held in a narrow range, blood glucose is carefully regulated, and tissues get exactly the oxygen they need. The moment you begin to move with purpose, those demands jump. The brain projects an intent to move, motor neurons fire, muscles contract, and almost instantly your heart, lungs, and endocrine system alter their outputs. Everything we call exercise physiology is the choreography of this response. Start with the muscle because that's where the demand originates. A muscle fiber is essentially a bundle of contractile proteins, actin and myosin, organized into repeating units called sarcomeres. When a nerve impulse arrives, calcium floods out of internal stores and binds to the protein troponin. The protein tropomyosin shifts aside. Myosin heads grab actin and pull. ATP is hydrolyzed to each power stroke. Force scales with how many cross bridges form and how quickly they cycle. The nervous system dials force up or down by recruiting more motor units, which is a motor neuron plus all the fibers it innervates, and by changing their firing rate. Small, fatigue-resistant motor units are recruited first for light tasks. As the required force grows, larger and more powerful motor units join in. This size principle ensures efficiency. You don't fire a cannon to move a pencil. Think about recruitment. Anytime you've ever lifted something up that ended up being lighter or heavier than you thought it was going to be, you're recognizing recruitment. Your brain recruited the number of myofibers that it thought would be necessary to generate the appropriate force. But if the thing you're trying to lift is way lighter than you thought it was going to be, you might end up throwing it up to the ceiling because you recruited way too many motor units. And if it's way heavier than you thought, you could actually injure yourself because you don't recruit enough motor units to lift that thing. That's recruitment. You can review this in my muscle episodes. Muscle fibers differ in their natural tendencies. Type 1 fibers favor endurance with many mitochondria, dense capillaries, and enzymes for oxidative metabolism. They're the quiet workhorses of posture and distance efforts. Type 2 fibers come in flavors. 2A fibers can be trained to behave more like endurance or more like power fibers depending on how you use them. And 2X fibers are your high-octane, short-duration engines, best at producing big force quickly, but prone to fatigue. So think about postural muscles that are the type 1 fibers that are just keeping you standing all day long. They never tire out. Type 2A fibers are the ones that you could use for sprinting or for long-distance running because you can train them for both of those things. But the big force things like pitching a baseball, hitting a slap shot in hockey, jumping, like box jumps, for example, those are where the 2X fibers come in. They're the high-octane, short-duration engines, big force quickly, but they fatigue fast. Now, despite the genetic makeup that gives you the fiber types you have, no one is stuck with a fixed setting. Training nudges these fibers' chemistry and behavior. More mitochondria here, more glycolytic enzymes there, new capillaries threading through the tissue, so that over time the same body performs very differently. Now, all of this contraction takes energy, and we know that our immediate energy currency is ATP. Because the ATP pool inside fibers is small, you need rapid ways to resupply it. Think of 3 overlapping gears. The first is the ATP phosphocreatine system, which can rephosphorylate ADP quickly using phosphocreatine as a donor. It's powerful, but it's brief. Perfect for a 6-second sprint or the initial drive out of the blocks for a race. The second gear is anaerobic glycolysis, which breaks down glucose or glycogen to pyruvate for fast ATP without waiting for oxygen-dependent pathways. When intensity is high and mitochondria can't keep up, pyruvate accepts hydrogen to become lactate. Contrary to an old myth, lactate is not toxic waste. It's a useful fuel and a shuttle molecule carried by blood to tissues that can burn it, like the heart and slow-twitch fibers of the muscles, or back to the liver where it can be turned into glucose. Lactate is another name for lactic acid. The third gear is oxidative phosphorylation. It's slower to ramp, but produces a large ATP yield from carbohydrates and fats, provided oxygen delivery and mitochondrial machinery are up to the task. During real exercise, all 3 gears turn at once in different proportions. What changes with intensity and duration is which gear dominates. Oxygen use is a handy window onto the whole system, summarized by the Fick equation where your oxygen consumption, or VO2, equals your cardiac output times the difference in oxygen content between arterial and venous blood. In other words, how much oxygen you deliver multiplied by how much your tissues manage to extract. Training that raises VO2 can do it by pushing more blood per minute through a stronger heart and bigger stroke volume, or by teaching muscles to pull more oxygen from each unit of blood. And it can also be through more mitochondria, more oxidative enzymes, and a denser capillary network. Usually both happen to some degree, which is why VO2 max is such a good integrative measure of fitness. Okay, let's zoom out to the cardiovascular system and watch the first few minutes of a workout. Even before you start moving, anticipation can nudge your heart rate upward, a feed-forward signal from the brain that exercise is coming. As you begin, heart rate climbs approximately linearly with intensity, while stroke volume, the amount of blood ejected for each heartbeat, rises quickly and then often plateaus in untrained people at moderate levels of effort. Multiply heart rate by stroke volume, and you get cardiac output. At rest, it might be 5 liters per minute, but in heavy exercise, it can triple or quadruple. The result is a torrent of blood directed where it's needed. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Blood vessels feeding the digestive organs and kidneys constrict because they're not really necessary at the moment. Vessels supplying the working muscles dilate under the influence of local metabolites and sympathetic nervous system signals. Skin blood flow also increases as heat production rises because thermoregulation is non-negotiable. Overheating threatens enzyme function and cellular activity. Blood pressure responds in a characteristic pattern as well. In rhythmic activities like running or cycling, systolic pressure rises in step with cardiac output, while diastolic pressure holds steady or dips a little bit because the dilated muscle beds reduce resistance. In heavy static or high-load lifting, both systolic and diastolic pressures can spike, especially if someone bears down and holds their breath, which is called the Valsalva maneuver. As a future clinician, you'll teach patients with known hypertension or cardiovascular disease how to breathe and how to choose loads that stress muscles without excessive pressure spikes. Meanwhile, the respiratory system shifts its gears. Ventilation shoots up the instant you start moving, mostly from neural commands and joint muscle feedback, even before carbon dioxide production has had time to rise. Then, as metabolism ramps, increases in carbon dioxide and hydrogen ions fine-tune breathing. Remember, we don't want acidity to get too high either, so we got to get rid of the CO2, which is mostly carried as carbonic acid, and we got to get our hydrogen ion concentration down. At low to moderate intensities, tidal volume, the amount of air you move per at-rest breath, grows, and later the breathing rate increases. Because buffering the acid load of higher intensity work creates extra carbon dioxide to exhale, you'll see a point where ventilation begins to climb disproportionately to oxygen consumption. This ventilatory threshold closely tracks the lactate threshold and marks the boundary where sustained effort becomes more difficult. For training, nudging this threshold to a higher pace or power often matters more than raising VO2 max alone, especially for real-world performance and for patients trying to do more daily work without undue fatigue. Remember, it's more important to get the CO2 out than to get the oxygen in. Exercise is also a hormonal event. Catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine surge and help liberate fuel by stimulating glycogen breakdown and fat mobilization. They also increase heart rate and contractility. As exercise continues, cortisol supports glucose maintenance and fat use, though chronically elevated cortisol without recovery can oppose the training progress. So you don't want cortisol to be elevated for too long because then you'll get negative results from your training. Growth hormone pulses upwards, supporting tissue remodeling and the breakdown of lipids, which is called lipolysis. Insulin typically falls during exercise because contracting muscles increase their own glucose uptake through GLUT4 transporters independent of insulin. Glucagon rises to keep blood glucose stable, especially as glycogen runs low. As sweat rates climb and plasma volume falls, aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone work to conserve sodium and water. Even muscle releases its own messengers, myokines like interleukin-6 that signal to liver, fat, and immune cells, reminding us that muscle is more than a motor, it is an endocrine organ as well. Okay, we have to give thermoregulation its own attention because it affects safety, performance, and exercise prescription. Regulating your body temperature when you're generating this much heat is extremely important to avoid things like heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And this is because muscles are only about 25% efficient. Most of the energy that is put into the muscles for contraction ends up being lost as heat. Your body loses heat through radiation, convection, conduction, and evaporation. During hard work in warm environments, evaporation is king. Sweating is the number one way to cool your body down. But humidity is the spoiler because it slows evaporation. You've probably been in a humid area where you're sweating and you're feeling really hot, even though it isn't as warm as you thought it was, but the humidity makes it feel so much hotter than it is. That's because your body can't cool itself as easily as it would otherwise. That's why humid days feel warmer than non-humid days, even if the temperature is the same. In the heat, people who are acclimated sweat earlier and more. Their sweat is more dilute, meaning better sodium conservation by their body. Their plasma volume is larger and their heart rate is lower at any given workload. Acclimation can occur over a week or two of thoughtful exposure, which is a key counseling point for athletes and workers in hot climates. Hydration is not merely drink lots of water. Dehydration reduces plasma volume and stroke volume in your heart, so the heart has to beat faster to sustain output. Performance and safety can suffer. But over-drinking plain water without sodium can cause hyponatremia, low blood sodium, which can range anywhere from mild nausea to seizures and coma. A useful rule of thumb is to replace fluids in a way that limits body mass loss to within a couple percent during long sessions, and to include sodium for heavy sweaters, hot days, and efforts that go multiple hours. Okay, so far we've tracked acute responses to exercise, what happens during and right after a session. The magic of training, however, is in the remodeling that happens between sessions. Early in a strength program, improvements come largely from neural changes. The brain refines the timing of motor units, recruits more of them, and minimizes unnecessary co-contraction of antagonists. You feel stronger before your muscles get any bigger, because the nervous system has learned to use what you already have to meet the strength demands that you are giving it through your exercise. With more exposure, that's when the structural changes follow. Fibers enlarge as they add myofibrils, connective tissues remodel, and tendons stiffen in a helpful way for power transfer, and muscle architecture subtly shifts. For example, the angles of the muscle fibers can change, and it can favor force production. On the endurance side, repeated aerobic stress signals muscles to make more mitochondria, increases the raft of enzymes needed to oxidize fats and carbohydrates, and grows new capillaries to reduce diffusion distance for oxygen and substrates. The heart adapts too. Endurance training enlarges the left ventricular chamber and thickens its walls in a balanced way, allowing a bigger stroke volume, while resistance training thickens the walls more than it enlarges the chamber, improving pressure handling. Blood volume increases, first via plasma and later red blood cell mass, aided by repeated exercise and, in some cases, iron status optimization. These long-term changes are governed by the fundamental training principles you'll eventually prescribe: specificity, progressive overload, individualization, and recovery. Specificity says the body adapts to what you ask of it. Long intervals near a threshold raise the point at which a patient can talk in full sentences while walking uphill. Heavy squats for low repetitions teach the body to produce force. Plyometric drills improve the rate at which force is produced. Overload says you must stress the system beyond its current comfort zone to cause adaptation, but you increase stress gradually. 5 to 10% more total load per week is a good common pattern to avoid injury and excessive fatigue. Individualization respects differences in training age, genetics, prior injury, preferences, and comorbidities. And recovery is where adaptation becomes complete. Sleep, nutrition, and lighter weeks or deloads allow tissues to remodel and the nervous system to reset. I talk about the specificity of training principle all the time. You don't train for a marathon by running 100-meter sprints. You've got to practice the way you expect to perform in the game. I heard this phrase a lot when I was a student. Practice doesn't make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. You've got to practice appropriately. As a clinician, when you begin to prescribe exercise, you'll also need a shared language to dose it. The fit variables, frequency, intensity, time, and type, are your levers. You can quantify intensity by heart rate, pace, power, percentage of one repetition maximum for lifts, or by rating of perceived exertion, RPE, rating of perceived exertion. Heart rate zones often map to percentages of maximum heart rate or of heart rate reserve. They aren't perfect because medications like beta blockers can blunt the response, but zones are helpful scaffolds. Like, you want to get your heart rate up to a percentage of your maximal heart rate. The RPE is valuable in clinical populations because it captures the lived experience of work. Combining RPE with heart rate and, where possible, pace or power gives the best picture. For resistance training, you'll often keep sets a repetition or two shy of failure to get the stimulus with less risk. focusing on technique and full ranges of motion. Okay, so now what about soreness and injuries? You're probably familiar with the delayed onset of muscle soreness, which is called the DOMS effect. It peaks a day or two after unfamiliar or eccentric heavy movement. It's associated with microtrauma and local inflammation, not lactic acid. A little soreness means you provided a novel stimulus. A lot of soreness can affect your performance. It can also change your gait or your lifting mechanics, and it can increase injury risk. Recovery strategies are straightforward but powerful. Prioritize sleep. Aim for enough daily protein, which is about 1.2 to 2.0 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for active people. Replenish carbohydrates after glycogen depleting sessions. And use light movement for active recovery. Cold water immersion can make you feel better in the short term, but may dampen hypertrophy signaling if used immediately and routinely after strength sessions. Deploy it on purpose when the goal is to bounce back for a competition rather than to maximize muscle growth. Safety is your non-negotiable priority. Before patients increase activity, screen for red flags: chest pain or pressure, unexplained syncope, which is passing out, new heart palpitations, disproportionate shortness of breath, or a marked drop in exercise capacity. In the musculoskeletal domain, watch for deformity, severe swelling, inability to bear weight, or neurologic deficits after injury. Heat illness presents with confusion, staggering, hot skin, and sometimes a paradoxical cessation of sweating. That means that even though the person is getting really hot, they stop sweating. This is an emergency. This could be heat stroke, and it could be fatal. You may have heard of the term rhabdomyolysis. That's a severe muscle breakdown, and it can follow extreme exertion, especially with heat stress and dehydration. Some of the warning signs are dark urine and muscle tenderness out of proportion to what you would typically expect. People with diabetes need guidance on timing sessions with respect to meals and medications and on recognizing symptoms of hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. Sick patients with fever and systemic symptoms should usually rest.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Fueling is a frequent source of confusion with people, and you'll see stuff all over social media that is a bunch of misinformation and sometimes even disinformation about what your nutrition should be when you are an athlete or when you are working out. So it is a frequent source of confusion. But you can keep it practical. Carbohydrates dominate at higher intensities. Fats contribute more during lower intensity or longer efforts. Protein supports tissue remodeling and immune function. Before a routine session, a small carbohydrate-based snack can help if it's been a long time since the last meal, while high-fat foods often feel heavy in the stomach when intensity climbs. During sessions longer than an hour at moderate to high intensity, many people benefit from 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour and from regular fluid and sodium. Afterward, glycogen and muscle protein synthesis are the priorities. The exact timing isn't magical for most people, but putting a meal or snack with both carbohydrate and protein in the first couple of hours works well, and total daily intake matters more than precision. For weight management conversations, help patients appreciate that both easy aerobic work and strength training improve metabolic health. Resistance training supports lean mass so that weight loss is more likely to come from fat rather than muscle. Don't forget about individualization. Different populations need different emphasis. Children and adolescents adapt well to training, but should focus on skill, fun, and broad exposure rather than specializing too early. Let them do a lot of different things, try out a bunch of stuff, and make sure they're having fun. It's no good if no one's having fun. Now with kids, the glycolytic capacity is lower than adults, and they recover quickly from intermittent work. Resistance training is safe for youth with proper technique and supervision. You don't want anyone getting hurt. And you got to emphasize movement quality rather than maximal loads. There's no reason for a kid to try to bench press for the record. Older adults face sarcopenia and dynapenia. These are losses of muscle mass and strength that can threaten an older person's independence. The good news is both of these are modifiable. Resistance training improves strength, bone density, insulin sensitivity, and fall risk. Power training, like moving light loads quickly with good form, can be particularly functional because real-world tasks often require speed. You have to be mindful of balance issues, comorbidities, and medication effects with older individuals. Now, pregnancy is its own unique situation. Most healthy individuals benefit from moderate exercise when they're pregnant, combining aerobic and light to moderate resistance work. Obviously, you want to avoid contact sports, high-risk impact, supine positions lying on your anterior, especially late in pregnancy that can compress the vena cava, overheating, and heavy breath holding. Any vaginal bleeding, leaking of fluid, painful contractions, dizziness, or decreased fetal movement means stop and see your physician. In cardiometabolic disease, both aerobic and resistance training are frontline therapies. They improve blood pressure, glycemic control, lipids, and quality of life. Cardiac rehabilitation programs show that interval training, when supervised, can be especially effective, and it's well tolerated by people with heart conditions. Now, patients and clients are going to ask the same big questions all the time, and you'll answer them clearly. Here's a big one. Is lactic acid what makes me sore? No. Lactic acid or lactate clears quickly and is a helpful fuel. Soreness peaks 1 to 3 days later because of microscopic tissue damage and inflammation, especially after eccentric heavy work. Here's another question. Do I need the fat burning zone? Low-intensity work does burn a higher percentage of fat, but the total fat you burn relates to total energy expenditure over time, not what you're doing in that moment. For health and performance, a mix of easy base work, a bit of higher intensity effort, and regular resistance training is the most effective. Here's one. Can I do cardio and lifting on the same day? Yeah. If strength is the priority, lift first. And if endurance is the priority, do the cardio first. Separating the two by hours helps when both are hard sessions. How heavy should I lift? Heavy enough to challenge you with excellent form. For most health goals, stopping a couple of reps shy of technical failure is the sweet spot. How do I know I'm improving? Well, track a few simple markers: resting heart rate, pace or power at a steady RPE, loads and reps on standard lifts, and how you feel. Trends over weeks matter more than daily noise. The other question I get a lot is, what's the best exercise for losing weight? My answer has always been, whatever you'll actually do. Find something you enjoy doing, that is good exercise, and do that. Because you're much more likely to actually do it if you enjoy it. And compliance to an exercise program is the number one obstacle for success. Behind every exercise prescription is the reason exercise matters clinically. Regular, appropriately dosed movement lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, several cancers, osteoporosis, depression, and dementia. It is therapy after heart attacks and for chronic lung disease. It improves glucose control in diabetes, keeps bones strong, and reduces falls in older adults. It enhances sleep, mood, and even cognitive performance. And it restores agency. Patients who discover they can climb stairs without stopping or play on the floor with their grandchildren gain more than just a lab value in their cholesterol or blood pressure. They gain quality of life. As a healthcare practitioner, the most persuasive conversation you'll ever have often sounds like, we're going to keep your walks mostly at a comfortable pace so your body builds more mitochondria and capillaries. Once a week, we'll include a few minutes of faster walking to push the intensity that your body can sustain. Twice a week, we'll do strength work so your bones and joints are supported and everyday tasks feel easier. We'll check in on how you're sleeping and eating because that's when your body rebuilds. That's it. That's the conversation. It's not that hard. You gotta move. You gotta move your body. All right, let's end where we began, with a single workout. You start moving, and in seconds your heart rate rises, your breathing deepens, blood rushes to working muscles. Those muscles fire in orderly sequences, small units first and larger ones as you need more force. ATP turns over rapidly, supplied first by phosphocreatine, then by glycolysis, and then more and more by oxidative pathways as minutes pass. Your brain monitors the heat you produce and signals vessels in your skin to open. Sweat glands switch on to keep your core temperature in a safe range. Hormones mobilize fuels and conserve fluids. As your exercise session ends, your oxygen use stays elevated. This is excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, because your body is resetting ion gradients, restoring phosphocreatine, clearing and redistributing lactate, and cooling down. So your oxygen needs stay high. You don't stop breathing heavy the minute you sit down. Over the next hours and days, protein synthesis creates new contractile machinery. Enzymes are upregulated, mitochondria multiply, capillaries sprout. The heart and blood volume adapt. A week later, the same session feels easier. A month later, you go farther in the same time. 2 months later, you carry your groceries upstairs without stopping. Physiology explains why those things happen. Your job will be to harness it safely, thoughtfully, and with empathy so you can turn biology into better lives for yourself and for your patients and clients. Like I've been saying for so long, move your body. Exercise is one of the keys to living longer and healthier. And speaking of which, a huge thank you to my guest April Hattori from Yes2Next. She is walking the walk when it comes to exercise and health. And so is her 84-year-old mom. You can find April on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. She has a podcast, blog, you name it. She's got everything. She's everywhere. And I'll post links to all of it in the show notes so you can find her easily. Thank you once again for listening. I hope you enjoyed this bit on exercise physiology. Good luck on your next exam, and I'll talk to you next time. Anatomy and Physiology Bit by Bit is a production of Minus 55 Media and is hosted by the Believe Network. Please take the time to rate my show and leave a review. You can also check out the content I post on Instagram and YouTube as @StudentHelp4AP. That's the number 4 AP. Special thanks to my family, Bucks County Community College, and McGraw-Hill Education, where your instructor can find Anatomy and Physiology Digital Suite, my low-cost tutor video-based digital learning solution for anatomy and physiology currently being used at several colleges and universities. If your instructor isn't using Digital Suite, let them know about it. The link is in the show notes.
Have you ever wondered why onions make you cry?
Or how soap gets your hands clean?
What really is margarine?
Or why do trees change color in the fall?
I'm a chemist, and to answer these questions, I started a podcast called Chemistry for Your Life.
In each episode, Melissa explains the chemistry behind one of life's mysteries to me. And I'm definitely not a chemist, but she explains it in a way that's easy to understand and totally fascinating.
If you're someone who loves learning new things or who wonders about the way the world works, then check out Chemistry for Your Life, available wherever you listen to podcasts.